Hey everyone, welcome to today's episode of Peaceful Growth Podcast. I have Ronik here today. Ronik has been a guest before, and I invited him. In fact, I requested him to come on one more time. And because last time when he was a guest, we talked about AI, that how he uses AI in his agency. And that sparked an idea. I was like, what about if we just do maybe one episode of this podcast specifically focused on AI and how both of our agencies are using AI in our product and agency business. So that's something that Ronik and I we're going to do today. We'll talk about, share some of the ways that we are using AI and some of the ways we want to use AI in the future. So yeah, that's what this episode is all about. Hey Ronik, welcome back.
Hi, Anil. Thanks for that invite and happy to be here.
Yeah, no, I love it, and I'm glad that you signed up for the second appearance on the podcast. So AI, yeah, that's what we want to talk about. So I have a couple of ideas that I was thinking that we can kind of like go in that direction. That will be much more helpful to the viewers and listeners of the show. But feel free, if there is any other format. So what I was thinking is that I think if we do, let's say, put our entire business into multiple departments like sales, marketing, accounting, and finance. Then we have HR, like these are all operations and production and delivery. So maybe we can talk about a little bit on that, like how we are using in all of these departments, AI workflows, tools, and we can also talk a little bit about in the general sense too.
Yes, that sounds good.
Yeah, cool. So let me start with the first question, and which is overall, since when you started using AI in your business?
I believe last year, May 2023, that was when we had our first initiative where we created a sort of AI captains to spread the word about AI in the company. Very little results to show for it, actually. We didn't gain that much, but it did stir up this larger movement within the company to focus on the AI. And now, since then, now we have an AI department. We have a 4 full-time people in that AI department. We have a couple of internal products that we'll talk about soon that we are developing. We're using it, tweaking it, making it better and better every day. Just last week we began a design phase on a AI product that we like to launch maybe later in the summer. We use OKR. I think we talked about that on the last show, that we use OKR method for our management. And right now for this quarter, Q1 of 2024, 80% of OKR of our entire team is somewhat around AI, right? So what we were talking off the recording is just, focusing on those couple of things for the quarter. Right now, that focus for everybody in the team is AI. And so from that, been getting a lot of experience. Myself, I'm very new to it. I did not know, to be honest, much about it 7-8 months ago. And now I think I'm getting there. I don't want to say I'm the expert or pro or anything. It's just that I have spent a lot of time. And if you spend a lot of time with the intention, right, on anything, you start to understand things. And I don't think I can predict anything in the market, what would happen, right? But that intuition, right, at the start of the year, I was thinking, maybe this year, like, because I heard on somebody's podcast that the guest was asked, what do they think will happen in 2024 in terms of AI, right? And their answer had nothing to do with it. And then I was thinking, what do I think would happen, right? And my intuition was saying, well, it would be about going to smaller models, because the computing power that we need for the usage is just clearly not there, right? Look at the NVIDIA stock and other things in the markets that the market will demand that the models run more efficiently for environmental reasons too, right? So there's going to be a lot of push towards those smaller models. And so far in the year, we are seeing that, like Google launching their couple of open source model, small in parameter size. Mistral launched another one with the Microsoft partnership. I think just today heard that Microsoft proposed a new paper with a 1-bit LLMs, right, from 16
Mm,
bit. So I think so far in the year, it looks like we're going there. But the point was like, I'm getting that when things are happening, I could see which way things are going, right? And
yeah.
I'm not that a technical of person. I can't code, right? And but I do run the IT business for 8 years. So with that perspective, and just a lot of reading, experimenting in the team, you can say that I understand quite a bit now.
Mm.
Yeah,
No, thanks for sharing that, Ronik. And I think one thing that you touched on, the smaller model, right? So I also see trend, maybe not maybe, but like I think some of these big companies, they're already experimenting with that, which is on-device AI. So rather than depending on dependency on the cloud and processing the data over the cloud, having like the running the entire AI engines and AI models within the organization and also within your device, whether it's a mobile phone, computer, or your internal servers.
definitely. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why there's a big push there,
Mm,
is to make that happen. I think the latest Samsung phone that arrived earlier in the month, all of the features that it was doing,
yeah,
and the developer in you goes like, "How are they doing it? Is that cloud involved? Like, where's the actual model, right?" And the first
yeah,
thing is you Google, like, how do they? In it is on device, right? And that for
yeah.
that to work, it has to be really small model, so the power consumption and just overall GPU and CPU usage of the phone doesn't die down with it, right? So
Mm,
that's next, and Apple hasn't even come out with theirs yet, right? So uh,
yeah.
that could be something surprising later in the year.
Yeah, I just listened to another podcast this morning, and they talked about that Apple, they had a car team, so they were actually
I
working
saw
on
that.
creating
Yeah.
building a. You saw that news, yeah. So
Yeah, I saw
they
that.
are basically, I think, planning to shut down their car operations and team, and going to most likely, moving all those resources towards the AI.
Yes, yes. So that there's definitely a lot of big breaking news. Is we'll keep hearing for a lot more months to come.
Yeah, yeah. Great. So on my side, yeah, I started playing with AI. I think it was beginning of 2022.
Mm.
So I started just using beginning of I think it was beginning or yeah, I think it was beginning of the maybe beginning of the mid of 2022 where I started to kind of like play with a different AI tool before actually ChatGPT launched their own interface. I think ChatGPT already started. Other companies started to build the tools on the ChatGPT's APIs. So before actually ChatGPT had their own interface, others were already building on ChatGPTs, and I think I tried some of those apps. But in the last 2 years, uh, one way I'm learning and keeping myself up with all the AI progress and growth is through signing up and participating on different courses. So I spent I think like $5,000 last year on an AI course, especially on the prompting, and that was very, very helpful. I told you earlier, right before we started, when we were offline, that I also have signed up for another course, which is very specifically for how to use AI in business, and because AI has like multiple different applications. Some people use for fun, some use for personal project, but I'm much more interested in on a business startup, because ultimately the goal is how with using the AI tools, how we can actually improve the efficiency of our business, which will lead to profitability of business. And that's kind of like ultimate goal, like improving the efficiency and productivity in business. And yeah, so with that being said, how about, Ronik, if we start maybe with the personal, like let's just talk a little bit about like how we use personally, you and I use personally AI, and then we will move back to this format of like sales marketing, and then we'll kind of like take it from there.
Personally, I think my use case is limited to things around copy. I guess, right? Anywhere
Okay.
you need a copy, first thing that comes to mind is let's just go to ChatGPT and get it done.
Yeah.
And I use that quite a lot, like
Mm.
letters and emails that are even if it's not business related. Just it's nice
Yeah.
to be easier. Not that it's nice, it's just easier. It saves a lot
Yeah.
of time. Personally, using that, and then some of these apps that you are just normally using, they're all adding some AI component to their app in that sense. But if you were to ask me name one app, that I don't think there is anything that I'm using at the personal level that I can think of right now, outside of just having ChatGPT in a lot of personal things.
Hmm. Um, I think same for me. I on personal level, I mostly use it for improving my writing. So I have this newsletter called Learn and Grow, and so I write like weekly newsletter on different topics. And when I'm done with my writing, I'm good at writing. Writing like draft, creating a draft, but I'm not good at editing it. And also titles, like the post title, is that's a hard part for me. Like I spend so much time obsessing over like what should be the perfect title for this blog post or a newsletter issue. So that's where I use ChatGPT a lot, where I will just share my entire content. It's like, hey, give me a couple options for the best title for this post, and I'll play with that. Sometimes I use for the editing as well. So some of the particular part of the content where I feel like, okay, this needs to be a little bit more edited, grammarly corrected, and like I like to see different variations of the content. So yeah, that's my one personal use case. Second, I use also for a lot of actually research
Mm.
on a personal level. So one of the research is around. I'm not sure if we talked about that in the past, but let's say I have this my breakfast, my morning breakfast. So I would ask my wife, I was like, do you think it's a healthy? Because I'm eating that every morning. Like I have a very disciplined routine, and I don't like to change that much. So I eat the same breakfast every day. And I was like, I need to check whether this is really aligned with my health goals, and it looks healthy, but like I want to know, to be sure. So I was thinking about ways to was like, how would I know? So then I was like, let me try ChatGPT. So what I did is, I actually put down all those things like, hey, this is what I eat on my breakfast, like 2 spoon of yogurt, 1 cup of blueberries, 1 cup of like strawberries, all the bunch of different, like 1 banana. And then, so I put down all those details. And then I also put down that, all right, so this is a cereal, like there is one cereal brand that I like to put it in my yogurt and fruits. So what I did is I just copied the website of that brand. I was like, this is the cereal brand that I use, and I use 2 cup of this cereal on my breakfast. So I provided all that information, and then I was just asking a bunch of different questions, like, all right, what do you think? How healthy is, like, what's the nutrition level? What's like all the different the values in that? And it was amazing. Yeah, because like any question, I was like, "What do you rate this between out of 10, like as a healthy breakfast?" So ChatGPT was like, "Oh, it's 8 out of 10. I would rate. Why do you rate 8 out of 10 for that?" So then ChatGPT will explain me the reasons for, like, that, hey, you are eating banana that has this calcium or potassium, like, well, a bunch of different things. So that was amazing for me. I was like, otherwise that like level of research, I have to find a virtual assistant or contact a nutrition expert. Like, this doesn't mean that, like, this removes the need for the nutrition expert, but I wanted just kind of like a ballpark understanding of whether this is healthy or not, right? So yeah, that's kind of like what my one of the personal use case that I use.
That's
Um,
actually a very good use case. I can't remember the name, but there's an app, because you know how I mean, you being Indian, I can share this, right?
yeah, yeah,
Indian
yeah,
food,
yeah.
it's very difficult to predict how much calories are in there, right? And I think there's an
Mm,
app now. You can take a photo of any Indian food, like the stuff that we cook at home. You can
yeah.
take a photo, and it'll tell you what calories and different. I don't know if it says about the carbs, fat, protein, all, but it says like how many calories. Is in that food, and it's like made for Indian food, right? And
Oh,
it's probably just a layer app that's using something like ChatGPT behind the scenes, but
oh,
it's
so they have
interesting to
AI
see.
as well in that.
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean they launched it just I read about it like 6 months ago, so I hope
Mm.
they're still operational, and there's clearly a good use case for it, as you have
Yeah,
proven.
yeah, no, absolutely. Um, what else on personal side? I think, yeah, those are the, oh yeah, the last third personal use case is I do a lot of financial projections, personal financial projections and calculations and modeling using the chat GPT. So yeah, those kind of like also like, hey, this is my net worth as of today. Let's say if I want to retire when I'm 50 or
Mhm.
55, if let's say my annual salary or income is this much, if my profit and the distributions from my company is this much, that like I would just play with that, like how much my company should make so that I can retire at 45, how much
Mm.
I should make to like all those different things. So that's kind of like something also where I use ChatGPT a lot to kind of
Yeah.
like do some of that modeling, data modeling too, and
I think
predictions.
that's the sort of underlying theme there is the first one, the first use case you said, right? Even though you said like you're not trying to replace nutritionist, but like that's what essentially it's doing for it, like part of that job. And the
Hmm.
second use case you mentioned, that's like a financial advisor that you hire, right? And it's getting that the part of that done. So there's clearly a
Mm,
shift in like how we have professions set up, and they're supposed to do this right now. There's
yeah.
something that can do it, and and same as a coders and developers, right? Like it
Mm,
can write code far better than any human can write, maybe. I mean, but that doesn't mean you can just replace them. There's still
mm,
a need in the other aspects of it, right? But like
yeah.
that's sort of the common theme that bumped into my mind as you were explaining that second use case.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's a good point. Let me ask you this. Like, do you think, for example, if we start using ChatGPT as like health expert, nutrition expert, or financial expert, then it will eliminate the need for those professionals in the future?
Probably
What do you
not,
see there?
right? But
Mm,
it would definitely change how those professions are run right now. It'll just be a change, pre-industrialization time, right? Like how we lived is just different. I mean, those same professions are there. It's just that a lot of those things that AI is able to do it will get offloaded eventually to that. So they're focused on more higher value thing that probably AI won't be able to do. So there'll still
mm,
be need. It's just how we utilize those services would definitely be different. 2020 versus 2040, it's
mm,
going to be quite differently how we utilize those services.
mm. Yeah. And yeah, my take on that is, and that is how I'm also thinking about multi-dots that we'll talk about, when we talk on the business side of the thing. But yeah, the way I see it, that I think it will not remove the need for this expert. In fact, it will become a lead generation and stepping stone for those professionals. Because right now, let's say I wouldn't pick up a call and contact a nutrition expert, just questioning about my yogurt, because I know that like it will be a long process. They will ask me questions. I need to be available for the call. They will explain me their model. They will do a bunch of different tests. And then I will find a piece of information that will help me whether I want to continue investing in this space or not. Right. So that's kind of like already a long process. And for that reason, I would actually be a little bit more discouraged to even participate, start the process or pick up a call and contact a nutrition. But here with the chat GPT, now it actually removes, that obstacle and reduce the time for me to pick up that information. So the moment I did this run, it gave me a piece of information that, okay, that what I'm eating is healthy or not, and what is the definition of healthy is, and then that kind of like create a spark, and then it will actually create more questions like, wait, I didn't understand this thing. I did not understand that thing. What about my dinner? What about my lunch? So then, and they're like, all right, now is the time where I should actually talk to an expert. And same thing for the financial, like when I was doing all this modeling, I was like, this is all good. It gives me an answer, or sometimes it will give you a problem. Like it will tell you like, okay, you have a problem or you don't have a problem. And once you have a confidence that, yeah, you have a problem, that's where you're like, all right, now I want someone else to help me solve this problem. And that will become sort of like a lead generation for those experts. So I think that's how I see it. And that's how I also want to kind of like thinking about multi-dots too. Like what are those initial things that's in fact creating that um, space, like time, the gap between my potential customers to reach out to us. And if maybe an AI tool that we build, that kind of like just gives me the initial answers, like how much, let's say, a migration cost, from site code to WordPress, how long it takes. So some of the initials, they're like, okay, this is all something good, and I want to do it. Now, who should I contact? So that's where they can contact Multidot. So kind of like that's where I was leaning towards, that ChatGPT can actually become, not ChatGPT, but AI tool can also become a sort of lead generation that gives them, solves that initial questions that they have in the mind, answer those questions they have in their mind, and also uh, help them realize whether they have a problem or not. And if they have a problem, then most likely they will actually pick up a call. Otherwise, they will never actually try to even contact. So that's kind of like where I was also I'm leaning towards.
Definitely, yes. It has those use cases, right? And it's just a matter of exploring those areas. As far as, for example, like back in before the internet days, if you had a, let's say, a question about something in the text, right,
Yeah.
you'd call your accountant. And now
Mm,
if you had that, you'd first Google it, and if you find that answer in 2 minutes, there's no reason to call the accountant.
right.
That didn't eliminated the entire profession. I mean, accountants are still there, they're still doing it, but
Mm,
for small things we don't bother them, because you
yeah.
find the answers online. Just like that in all the cases, right? For a lot of
Mm,
the small things, they could find those answers on their own. And given that the chat gpt, or whatever language model you're using, it has a
mm,
bit of a training on your data set, or what you wanted to do, something called fine tuning, right? Which is
yeah.
becoming a lot and lot easier now to do it, compared to just 6 months ago, right? And
Mm,
once that's there, yes, it could answer. Just a couple of weeks ago, I took up on, like, at the Unlimited WP, I took up on, like, I'll spend hour a day on marketing. That's this sort of quarter's goal, right? So a couple,
mm,
and I do like hardcore some writing or something. That's been recently. So I'm right,
mm,
and I started writing about this guide about, for agencies, a guide on budget planning. Like, when you're doing the discovery with your client, what you're trying to do back of your mind is like getting those requirements in, and sort of
mm,
plotting the budget, right? Oh, that module can cost that much, and there will be this phase, that phase, and then ultimately you put it all together and give it in the proposal, right? And a lot of, we exclusively work with agencies, right? So a lot of agencies we work with, and I see that they may not have the experience that I've had in terms of doing discovery and that budgeting portion. So I'm like, a guide
mm,
on that would be amazing, because that's something that you don't find it on the internet right now. I've tried to
yeah.
look for it, and then I'm like, that would
Mm,
be amazing. That's my insights. That's my, and so I go on a Google Drive. I start
mm,
just writing. Before I know it, it's like 13 pages or something. It
mm,
was just insane, and I'm exhausted at the end of it after 3-4 hours. And the last bit that was remaining on the guide was, I wanted to create some example tables, right? Because I talked about different ways you could quote it differently, and I wanted some table examples to represent
mm,
that, right? And it was like a almost a no-brainer task for me. It's just that, I'll need to create a one example set of project, and imagine a project has this needs. If it's for a
mm,
small business, it has a WooCommerce, then the quote should be around this much, right? Another, let's think about a blog website, and it had
yeah.
this. And I wanted to create a 20 different packages. The idea was that if the guide is this great, I want those agencies reading the guide at the end, see those, and get a complete idea of what the hell I was talking about on those 11 pages, right?
Yeah. That's
So that
amazing.
was important, but I was burnt out, right? So I go to ChatGPT, and I give my 11 pages to it, and I say, that's the last beat that's missing. Can you give it a shot at creating those 20 packages? It created it. First one, I'm looking at it, and I didn't tell it like what price to put. I assume that it'll just, at least if it bundles the packages, I'll just go
Hmm.
through, I'll read, and I'll put the price number. It did put the price number on it, and guess what? Like 20 out of 20, it was the exact amount that I would have put it. In a way, the
Oh,
clues
wow.
clues were in those 11 pages. Like, if the clues
Mm,
were there, that if
mm,
it's like this, it was just matter of putting it together. It wasn't
mm,
that easy clues, but clues were there, right? And
mm,
I didn't have to train it, nothing. I just gave those 11 pages, and I said,
mm,
create those 12 plans for me. That would have taken another half an hour for me to create it, right?
mm.
So
Or maybe more. Yeah.
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 uh, yes, probably more, right? And so
Mm,
that level of accuracy, you seeing day after day in different sorts of tasks, right? I mean,
mm.
that ought to make you fall in love with AI and just keep
Yeah.
exploring more. That it is not a hype; it's something that it is very real.
Yeah. No, that's great. So this is perfect segue for, let's say, jump into how we use or want to use AI in our business, and specifically for in the different part of our business, right? So how about we start with marketing and lead generation? So I mentioned, I think earlier about like in the marketing right now, marketing and lead generation, we are not using AI that much, that is as much as we should, but there are few areas where, I mean, beside like normal copywriting and like the content polishing and stuff like that, apart from that, yeah, I want to focus more on utilizing that for the lead qualification. So one thing I want to do is kind of like creating, let's say, uh, customer ICPs. So like we already have our customers' data. So I want to kind of like pass on all the data and create different types of customer ICPs for us. Like, okay, based on your profitable customer, less profitable customer size, business, like doing that little bit of that and creating customer ICP. So we are not doing this, but this is one of the use case that one of the way I want to use some AI tools to help me create customer ICP. And then the second is a lead qualification. So whenever we have a lead, we pass on this information on this ICP, and it automatically assign a right ICP to this lead. So they tell us like, hey, based on, and I don't want to, I mean, for our business, I'm assuming that we will have, let's say, 5 or 10 different ICP. So there is like this one type of customer that is good fit for this product or service. There is another customer who fits for this. But when I have a new lead, I want to see if utilizing this tool tells me like this particular inquiry is your tier 3 customer or tier 4 customer or the ICP, and then I know exactly that for that kind of customer, what is our sales process and who should go on a call, how much we should spend time in discovery, free discovery, all that. So that's kind of like what my some of my plans are using in the marketing and lead generation.
That's actually a very good idea. That particular bit we happen to be doing manually right now, and the CRM that we use has those features. They have introduced AI, which I personally haven't checked out recently, but I heard it from
Which CRM are you using, if you don't mind
uh,
sharing?
Fresh Shells.
Okay. How long have you been using
Oh,
this tool?
2, 3 years maybe.
2, 3 years. Okay. Yeah, we are in the process of like I think changing the CRM. So yeah, we'll talk about maybe later on. But I wanted to hear
I,
what your thoughts are.
and they did with something there. We saw that email on the AI. It looked like something close to what you were saying that they were building is like auto putting those notes for you. So when you're going at looking at the lead, AI has done its work and it's in the format that you need, right? For example,
Mm.
another case, like after the call, all the notes from the call, you want those to be systemized and in a way where you can quickly go through the person who's doing the follow-up, right? So for example, there we use Zoom for calls and some add-on that the team is using, Falcon, maybe the Falcon AI,
Uh-huh.
where it you get the transcript of the call, which is great. But then what we have done is there's a custom GPT built in the chat GPT where it says, this is our notes format. This is how we want any of the lead data to be entered in the CRM, and this is
Mm.
our format. And you just simply put the chat transcript, and it gives us in that format. Because if I'm ever looking at the lead, I don't have a
Mm.
time to read the entire chat transcript, and that's why we have the format. But now there's a human intervention about going from that and filling that out. Well, that can just be
Mm.
automated because the things like where you're located, have you ever outsourced before? If you did, what was your pain points? And those things are discussed on the call. It's just a matter of like looking through those notes and finding those and putting it systematically, so I could scroll through it, right, like exactly the area that I have interest in, right?
Yeah.
So and it does that very well. The one challenge, though, I'll also mention challenge. It's not
Mhm.
all sunny there. Like at the
Yeah.
end, there's this one number that we give in the CRM. There's two, three different numbers, but there is one that I asked team just to do it for myself. Is overall, what's the chance of this lead signing up on one of our plans, right? And
Mm.
1 to 10, a simple number. So when we have a bunch of sales calls going on, I don't have a time to look at any notes. All I do is I look at that last number and see how that was a good lead or not. That's the only the indication I need, right? And
Mm.
we try to do that automated. It doesn't work because the criterias are different. Sometimes those criteria are not really clearly mentioned on the call. It's just that feeling you get after talking to someone, right? That,
Yeah.
oh, that was a good. There was a good vibe to the call.
Mm.
That feeling, right? That's not on the transcript either. And
Mm.
without that number, sort of like I mean, it's not a huge deal. The person talking can put that number there, but like the point is just automating as much as you can, and even if that part is automated, just one less human intervention, right? And as you're adding more people in the team, you don't have to give those individual trainings on, hey, this is our format. Like, no, you don't need to worry about our format. All you need to know is after the call, you put your call notes or transcript here, and it will convert it into the format we need.
Mm.
Outside
I
of
love
that,
that. Yeah.
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 Outside of that, in the marketing, I mean, we are a big fan of custom GPTs. In the audience, I hope most people have heard about them. Not really easy to get started with them. They really bring the power of generative AI to the next level, right? When you
Mm.
have that system prompt, like predefined instructions that you're giving,
Yeah.
uh, and follow this, and then you don't have to waste time writing your prompts. It just knows what you need in which format you need things, what tones you need, just like having everything predefined. So
Mm.
for example, for social media post, right, those are couple lines. Doesn't really, there's nothing SEO about it, right? It's not that, oh,
Mm.
somebody's going to detect that this was AI generated. And those couple
Yeah.
of lines when it writes, it's very hard to tell if it's a human or AI because it's just two lines. There's not much
Mm.
to go after, right? So there's a
Mm.
custom GPT we have for that we just built actually this month. It's for Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So any
Mm.
blog we write now, we can just give it to that particular GPT, the Twitter one, for example, and
Mm.
it knows the Twitter format, the character length it should adhere to.
You
Uh,
don't have to pass on all the instruction again and again. Like once you
Again,
build, that's great. Yeah.
right, so we do that for all three. For LinkedIn, we built last month a guest post one. Your SEO team is doing this guest posting on the other sites,
Mm.
and we know, to be honest, like, how great those sites are,
Yeah.
and it's
It's just for the backlink, right?
and there the AI write-ups are perfectly fine, but there
Yeah.
we build this boat. We call it EEAT boat, as like,
Right.
what Google standards want to follow. So we
Right.
literally have a couple PDFs that sort of summarizes what the blog should have. And then
Mm.
there's a board for that. And on the custom GPT boards, you can upload your attachments, and we
Mm.
have those attachments uploaded, and saying, writing in this format, which it doesn't actually do a great job at. It does
Mm.
miss a lot of instructions, and we experience that, and then we broke that into a few different boards. That, okay, you just focus on the authority bit. One says, for example, if you're following SEO, like, with the authority saying, in your blog, some personal story or maybe a quote from someone
Mm.
that helps add authority in that article, right? Then there's a board you can build to do just that. Just the thing is that it fabricates the code sometimes. I mean, you look at the code and then you Google and you do have to replace it to correct code.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it still saves a lot of time of manually going through and finding a suitable code that works with the topic, right? So it does save a lot of time.
Mm.
It's not perfect. There's still that human intervention to say, oh, this is a good quality, this isn't a good quality.
Mm.
So I would say all in around marketing and sales, it's all very content centric usage. Then really going anything. Basically, you can say everything there is within ChatGPT.
Mm.
Okay guys, so if you're interested to check out how Multicollab works and how Multicollab can solve your problems or improve your content publishing workflow, you can go to our website and click on the Try Demo tab in the menu section. Then simply fill out your details, and there you go. Now you have access to the demo environment where you can test all the amazing features that Multicollab has to offer.
There's a one very exciting project we are working on. We are calling it internally. We are calling it Garuda AI. That will probably put it out there if it works to our the way we like it to work. So the machine learning developers that we have, we are building. Again, if you are, I mean, you're running an agency, I'm sure you're familiar with just the basic concept of SEO and how people in our teams in the agency life are approaching SEO, right? When it comes to writing a new blog article on the website, there's a whole process that you go through where you're doing some keyword research. And what that means is you Google different bunch of ideas, you see who's ranking, right? You use Google Keyword Planner, and then you put in get some similar keywords that have higher volume. Then you put those in the Google, and you see who's ranking, right? And who is ranking right now? What is the intended use of that article, right? Like what type of audience is it serving? So while Google is giving priority to those type of articles, right? You do a lot of this manual research to find out, well, we should write about it, and the intent or the area of the article should be this, right? From that manual labor, that, right? Now that's the process. If you ask anybody in the team, they'll tell you that's a process. But when you actually see them, when you give them a blog topic or like, hey, give me a blog topic for this, probably 20% of that process is followed, because it's humanly, that's a really long process. It would be amazing if you do it, but that will take you a couple of hours to do a proper research to come up with the one blog topic, which no one has a time to do it. And then, just basically from intuition, you search for something 10 minutes and, hey, this tool says this is a good keyword. Samra says it's a good keyword, so go for it, right? Now, to sort of solve that, what the Garuda AI that what we are building, it's basically a different steps. There's 11 or 13 steps involved, where we are trying to automate that entire process. Now that wouldn't have been possible pre-AI days, right? But now it is. We integrate with Ahref API and Google Keyword Planner API. So that search can just that API. Everything else is ChatGPT, for example, and there is a scraping involved. So, for example, if I put in I had a demo today, the first demo today, it's not there, but we know why it's not there. So it's just work in progress. For example, I put in a keyword that, hey, something around this, because I have a webinar plugin, for example, and I want to write, I want to rank for on-demand webinars. That's because I have a WordPress plugin for webinar, and I put on-demand webinars, right? What that does is just goes through a series of steps. First is like, let's search that, let's scrape the first 10 websites, actually open the website, scrape their entire copy, right? Give that copy individually to ChatGPT and ask, what is the intent here? What is the keyword length here? Sorry, how many top keywords are used, and what's the content length? And you can ask ChatGPT for all these metrics, and it'll say the intent here is like, lead generation and on demand. That's the intent that Google is ranking for, right? So you find out those intents, you put those keywords in the keyword planner, you get another look-alike sort of keywords. Then we filters in them, like anything over 50 domain authority, let's not go for that. Like we won't be able to, like those criteria to filter things out. Then again, it does the scraping search. Then again, it goes to ChatGPT, and ultimately it presents this table to the user. So I put in that keyword, and then I need to, right now I have to sit for a long, hopefully that latency will reduce it later. But let's say I sit for a couple of minutes, and it gives me a table and says, these are the keywords. I've looked at the other tools. It's sort of rankable, given the criteria you fed me in the form. When so you don't just give a keyword, you give a keyword and few parameters and then hit submit. So it'll do filtering based on them. And then it says, here, this is what it is. Here's the 5 topics that I think it should write, that you should write about. Then I can say, well, I like that topic. And then I hit submit. Then the last step is that, again, it goes back to the ChatGPT and says, hey, so finally selected, give us 20 different topic ideas on this, and then search them again, see the ranking. There's a last bit involved, but then ultimately, it'll give you a title. That's the phase one we are doing. It's just a one title that looking at all this possibility. Here's what the title, and that would have on-demand webinar keyword in that title, right? Like
Mm.
what that title and like what should be the intent when you're writing this, right? In the next phase, we are
Mm.
thinking we can even ask it to draft it for us or like give us a bullet points, which makes our copywriting faster.
Yeah.
But for now, that's purely experimental. I
Mm.
haven't seen people do that process.
Yeah.
Maybe people, even if they wanted to do it, you couldn't have done this before
Mm.
because you needed that AI piece in between, right? So that's something we're doing in the again on the marketing side.
Makes sense. No, that's actually amazing use case, and specifically the theme that I'm getting it from discussing this is that like all those any workflow, whether it's a marketing, sales, like in any operations, like if there is a steps and tools, right, and the people. So what I we see like there are steps. There's one person, they go to this tool or this website or this platform, capture the information, put it in here, and the same person or the next person take that information, process it, interpret it, and put it into here. So basically it's like those information are keep getting better, getting filtered, getting like reorganized, restructured, and finally you get the outcome. So any of this kind of workflow in any part of the business can be a great use case for utilizing the AI, and whether it's custom GPT, chat GPT, or you create your own the tool integrating all these different APIs. So I have a lot of question actually on how you're implementing, how you're using, but maybe we'll keep it for the next workshop where as we discussed that probably you and I will go a little bit more deeper and show them like what we have built and how we are using, and that will be, we can also do it a little bit longer. But I want to move on to the next part, which is we talked about personal marketing and sales. Now let's talk a little bit about the operations. So operations in like accounts, HR, any other operations. So is there any other way that you're using the AI and how you're using AI in those departments?
So there's one use case for HR with the recruitment. And just to add on what you said, yes, ultimately it is like if you have a mental map of how does that process work, you could, most likely there's a good chance, I shouldn't say most likely, there's a good chance that you could automate that process. And just with this next thing that I'm about to say, it's HR, it's the same use case. We have a recruiter and we are constantly looking for WordPress developers, and you used to have an office in the city I'm in right now, right? So how does that work? And as that recruiter, you're going through hundreds of resumes on people on various different platforms, and what are you doing while you're going through those resumes? Is like the company needs this type of person, and you're looking at the resume and you're saying, oh well, do I even want to interview or call this person? Yes or no, right? And it's a time consuming process because you have a front end dev, back end dev, QA, marketing people. There's a lot of hiring that goes on at the agency, right? So the recruitment person is super busy, and if you really look at that person's schedule, a lot of the time is just going through that, and we're like, why is that? Like, we could solve this. Just like what you were saying about the ICP. What is our, in a way, ICP for the ideal candidate that we need for that position? Once you have those defined, which we have it defined, then what you're doing, a simple application where you're just uploading all the PDF of the resumes that you have. And we will just take one PDF at a time, the requirements, pass it to ChatGPT and say, give us a summary. Does this person meet those requirements? Yes or no? Second PDF, third PDF, and just give me a list of 5 people that actually do meet requirement, and I'll call those people first, right? That use case. I would, on the next one that we do, maybe just doing a demo of that as well to see that it's like the interface is just keeping it very simple. Idea here is just, and that's something you don't even need to build something, right? You could do that same thing in the chat GPT if you like, to try it out to see if it
Did you build
gives
a
you
custom GPT for that, or you're still using the normal chat GPT?
So this type of
Concepts?
applications, we just build a standalone web application for it.
Okay.
One of the advantage we have as an agency is we have the devs, and now that I have the AI department, there's actually dedicated devs to build those flow. And there's, I don't know if you have a LangChain. Have you
Yeah.
heard of? So,
Yeah.
I mean, LangChain has this chains, ready-made chains, so plug and play. Just you're basically different modules of that chain. It makes it really easy to
Mm,
call in ChatGPT at the various different stages of that chain, right? And
mm,
integrating your own flow. So we use LangChain, and to put this something together, this for a developer, especially if it's for internal use, right? So it doesn't have
mm,
to have bells and whistles. It's really fast. It
mm,
doesn't take that long time to, for example, that the SEO one that I said, it is a bit time consuming just because the Shamras, Google APIs, those things are involved. But here it's really just giving 1+1 and saying, does this make sense to you? So building
mm.
something on for example, LangChain would be really smooth. And for listeners, I mean, if you don't have developers, go to Upwork, right? It's some platform like, yeah, hire a LangChain developer. This isn't a big
Mm.
thing. Somebody who knows a LangChain, this
Yeah.
would be a
And I also
quite
like
easy
the
thing.
idea that you mentioned that even like before you going to the stage where you think about hiring a developer or building your own custom workflow. Yeah, you say like there are so many tools, like no code tools, and even in the chat GPT or the custom GPT, just build a prototype of what you are looking for. Then you kind of like, you already know that, hey, if I pass on this information, step one, I copy, even if you have to copy and paste from somewhere else, it's all right. Copy and paste the information in chat GPT, see the result, take that result, process it, pass on. So once you do refine that couple of times, you know that like, all right, if I provide this instruction in this 5-step and this particular format, then that's where I'm getting the most accurate outcome or output. And then what you do next thing is like, all right, now how I can actually turn these steps into like a better workflow, or on my website or my CRM or somewhere else.
Yes, definitely. You want to try it out on, like, because it's easy, right? Even with
Mm-hmm.
the SEO example, give it an article and say to let you know the intent, right? With probably a few more words in that prompt, but intent, and then whatever the response is, if you agree with it, first do try that out. And yes, that's the first time. There is other apps like Supabase, and there's few other players in the market that give you everything hosted environment. So executing a small project like this becomes even a lot more easier because then you're not dealing with database and setting things up. And if you needed to use vectors in your flow, it does, like, it has the vector libraries, or I should say embedding libraries, to actually make embeddings and store those vectors for you. Does a vector search pretty decent. So even simple apps, there's so many, there's no code ready-made platforms out there that should be given actual first thought, right? If it can get
Yeah,
it done, it'll be a lot cheaper and a lot quicker.
absolutely. No, that's great. Yeah, I love everything that you have shared so far, both in marketing, your AI tool, and now the HR and recruitment. And again, the common thread here, if you see, is just you just find those steps and see how you can actually convert them into a workflow where it is doing at least 70 or 80% of it is automated. And I think it's not just the time saving, but it also improves improves the quality too, because time saving is, if you're still getting the same level of quality by saving a couple of hours, is good. But it's amazing if you get like even better quality and in a less time. That's amazing. And I think that's what you and I, we both are getting into, why we are excited about some of these workflows and tools. Last, let's talk about the development. So we talked about operation, we talked about sales, marketing, and personal. Let's quickly also touch upon how we use AI in our development, specifically related to coding and development. So any thoughts there?
Yeah. I think there our use case is very simple. Anything you're doing as GPT, for the security reason, we purchased the CPU, 24 core CPU with, I think, 48 gigs of GPU and 128 gig of RAM. It's hosted in the office, and
Okay.
you want to do that just for your own safety and privacy of your data, rather than asking ChatGPT. We have actual open source hosted models on it, and then from the office on the network, anybody can access that. It's just that just safeguarding the data. And because for a lot of the things you do, you don't need ChatGPT for. Even the older models were just fine getting those answers. And there's more and more variety now coming up in the open source market. So that's something for a long term that would be any agency, of a decent size, that would be recommended to do it. Now we have that. Now another thing that we require since 1st December, so it's about 3 months now, is that any task that you're performing, do put it to AI first and see what you get. At the end of the day, along with your daily report, there's a form that you have to fill out. We don't have a lot of mandatory things in the office, but that's one of the things that I have made it mandatory for the time being, is you fill out a form where you give a link of the task from our project management system, and you say whether or not you used AI, and if you used it, was it useful, was it not, right? Just filling that out. Or I didn't use it, and you didn't use it, just a couple of words, well, not suited for the task I had at the hand, right? It's just something simple as that. Now, we have over 2,500 entries on that form. And last month, end of January, we were analyzing that, right? Like the first thing as an owner, what do I want to see is how many yeses are there? Like both yes, that I used it and it was helpful. So both yes.
Yeah.
You go to the sheet.
I'm glad you're doing that, yeah, because that's really good data point to see the AI adoption in the company. Yeah, I like that.
And we do all WordPress, right? I mean, there's little of custom, but majority it's all WordPress. And yeah, I could tell you it's about 30 to 40% is when the answer is both yes. That yes, I used it, and yes, it was helpful. Where the lot of no is coming from is the page builder related task. When because that's what the AI won't know what the Elementor structure is like, right? So anything that it gives, using it on the page builder type of task is where we are seeing for the majority that we're not able to get what we need. Though there's exciting things are happening. I think that one of the local company here, they're building a Figma to Elementor add-on where you have the designs in Figma and it'll convert it into like an Elementor site that you literally import that theme on your WordPress and you have the theme with everything, right? We tried it out. Well, we haven't tried them. We talked with their founders and they said as soon as the product is out in beta, they'll let us know. But there's another one that's already out in the market for a few months now. We tried that out. There's just some glitches there. I mean, it's not 100% there, but it could save a lot of time, which we aren't using that in the production. It was just to try things out. And then there's another codewp.ai. It's a good tool. We used a bit of it in some specific things, but nothing you can't do it in the ChatGPT. But I'm sure those tools, I think agencies should be exploring because they'll get better and better. The codewp AI is great because it knows a lot of this WordPress prompt behind the scenes. So when you're interacting with it, you don't have to say, hey, WordPress codex is this, and I need things in this structure, or I need things in that structure, because that they have given that they're feeding that information behind the scenes. Just like on the custom GPTs, the system prompt that you're always feeding, something behind the scenes they're feeding it, so it knows to give you that. Now, it doesn't give you results in the first go. You do have to like work with it. Say, hey, you forgot to add CSS, or you forgot to add. It wasn't CSS, you had to use SAS, right? Or I needed a Tailwind CSS class. So those sort of things, it does miss out on that information. But as I say, 30 to 40% of the time, it saves a lot of time. The quality is great. Even HTML, just HTML markup, like if you can give it image of a design and you ask GPT to give you HTML markup for it, and it gives a really nice HTML markup, right? And we have done several tests around this complicated pages where it's an archive page with a listing and a sidebar and a search button on the top, and there's a lot of elements, right? And then we are saying, hey, build this. I want a custom fields for this. There's a search bar, make sure, and it does a job like 70% there. That you could take it for. In not in all the cases, but in a lot of cases. For example, things like custom plugins, 90% there. Like those are the perfect use cases if you want to build a custom plugin, because it's almost like a stand-alone thing that you're trying to do. In those cases, it works phenomenally well. You won't be able to use it if it's an existing website and if it has a bug. Well, it doesn't have the access to the entire site code. We have theories floating around. We haven't experimented, but that's maybe a future project. Is like, what if the entire site code we fetch it via the FTP, not the database, so nothing sensitive, just the actual front end and back end PHP code of the site. What if you were to give that code and then the problem with some hint of which file the problem could be, right? And that wasn't possible last year when we thought about it. It wasn't possible because of the context window of the models were small, where you can't feed the entire website's code because that will be out of the context window. This year, we are seeing that the context windows are getting larger and larger, so that in a one go, if you wanted to give all that information, right, like the current context of the paid account goes to like more than 100 pages worth, which should suffice for any given website's code, right? Even if you have thousands of pages, like your code isn't going to get necessarily bigger, and you can eliminate some plugin files giving that, right? So we have a lot of theories around it. Unfortunately, we haven't tried that yet, but that is a big bottleneck. Like there, it's not that useful because it just doesn't know the other things. Now, however, it was interesting. There was this PDF from a client, which was weird. Why they send a PDF? But it was a PDF, and in PDF there are 4 tasks mentioned for us. That, hey, on this site, remove this from the header, add this in the header. The footer looks a bit squished on the mobile, right? It was like 4 tasks, and it was some WooCommerce button was acting weird or something, right? So there's this 4 tasks in PDF, and the bot that we have built, the only instructions that we have given it to is like, you are a WordPress bot and don't answer anything outside WordPress. You're experts and make sure you do, so just common instructions, a couple paragraphs we have given it to. And with that, I just give that PDF, no explanation whatsoever. And in the return, it gives me, 4 bullet points like, hey, this is how you want to do this. This is how you can achieve it. This button issue, most likely it's a Ajax, right? And I'm like, yeah, most likely it is Ajax, right? So it was like, it was point on, like, that's so helpful. So in that sense, it does help a lot, even if it doesn't answer or write a code for you. It could at least show you the direction, so you're not like using Google as much, right? Now, one last bit that I want to add about this is like practically doing this on the agency. What I learned and maybe inspiring from there is where we are creating our AI product for it is so you could tell I want to experiment AI in the business. I have 100+ people in the company. How do I know that they're adapting to it, that they're using the ChatGPT or our in-house model or whatever? Like, how do we see? Or maybe they're saying, oh, it didn't work for me. Maybe you didn't had a good prompt, right? Maybe if you had a prompt, right? But how do we monitor? How do we see sort of the adaptability of AI, the use within the team, right? So I wanted all the team members to be on a one platform where all the chats are there. Like, they're not on your independent ChatGPT accounts. They're on one shared account where, as an admin, I can see what discussions are you having, and maybe then I can, or somebody else in the company can point those out. Somebody senior, that, oh, you know what, it would have worked if you had asked it this way. Now,
you already have that implemented, or you're thinking about implementing that?
So that we implemented right now using one script that we found online, and then we modified a bunch of bit in it as a, like, for time being, like that's how team is using it.
So everyone pass on their prompts through there, and that's where they get the response. So that's where how you, like, what did you do to?
So there's actually application which is hosted on my server where everyone can log in, and just like ChatGPT, you log in and you do it there. But when I log in as an admin, I see all the chats on the left hand side, right? And I can see the names of people on the top of the chat name, so I know who, and I can filter it by department. And we have built custom bots in there for them, so when they log in, they're already assigned a bot, so they don't even need to know. They chat, like, the system prompt would go along just like a custom GPT. It would act as in custom GPT, but it's just that they're not on the ChatGPT platform. We do use ChatGPT APIs for it. So it's still their model that it's being used, but the interface is not the ChatGPT. It's their model, but with our own interface. And that's where then we got idea that, as the Gemini and all these other models would come up, as a business, if you have to onboard your 200 people team onto some AI tool, which one would that be, right? Like, if you go on with the ChatGPT, then you don't really get the goodies of the other models that have to offer, right? So that's where we got an idea of, let's build this interface where it doesn't matter what model you want to work with. It could be your own custom model that you trained it. Now, that's great. You trained a custom model. How are you going to interact with it? Like, how would you do Q&A with it? You would need an interface that that goes with it, right? So that's what the whole idea was born, like from our own need. And there's literally a couple people doing it. It's very early stages.
Yeah.
And I see a great need with that interface, and there's a bunch of cool stuff we want to do with it. It's like
Yeah.
more. It's like brains where you're sorting your chats into folders. That folder is your entire team. So anything you in the marketing folder, you go and create a new chat. Entire marketing team can see what you did. You can tag people in the chat itself. You can leave a comment in the your same chat thread, right? So it's really collaborative experience with your team. That's really like that was our need. Somehow half of what is what we have achieved, not in the proper ways, but the product we want to build is to solve sort of that problem.
I see. No, that's actually amazing use case, and I love that, and I can see totally that right now in Multidots. Like, yeah, we have a lot of our team members. They have their own ChatGPT accounts. Some are free, some are the paid. I also saw that ChatGPT offered or introduced a team account, so now you can actually get a team subscriptions and bunch of different team members. But that's what something that I was thinking about Multidots as a next step. Like, all right, I'll have everyone who's actively using ChatGPT or want to use ChatGPT will put them into a team subscription. And then we can see who's using, not using, stuff like that. But I like this one better because then, yeah, you all of them has like one interface, so they all have access to that, and then they have options whether they want to use ChatGPT, Gemini, or some other models, and then within the same they don't have to you don't need to maintain multiple subscription to multiple platform and switch, because sometimes I like to kind of like see the results side by side. Like for the one prompt, like if I ask to ChatGPT and Gemini, what kind of like or the Microsoft's Copilot I want to see. I know at the end they all are using behind the scene, probably let's say ChatGPT and Microsoft Copilot, they are using the same ChatGPT engine. Maybe Gemini will be a different model, but still I want to see and provide this option ability to use all these different types of chat models from the one screen. So I like that actually use case a lot.
Yeah, and there's also cost associated, like $25 for the team plans, right? They have something called enterprise plan for $65 or $80 per user. That's actually more like what we are envisioning, the type of features where they do give those features on those enterprise plan, which is $60 or $80 per user or something. Team was just their response, because what we were feeling that pain. Let's say you have a paid account, just like we have few paid, most free, but we have 5 or 7 that's paid. You have paid account. I build a custom GPT. It's great. How do I share it with people? Right? If it's without making it public, how do I share it with somebody who's on the free account, right? So for that meant that I need to get everyone on the paid account, versus like if it's an app, you're using API, so it's a metered billing. You're just paying for whatever the API usage are, and then the interface cost. I want to make sure and not make it user based, because I hate those user based pricing. When as a large team, when we look at something as multiply that by 100 plus, right? It becomes, so we want to do like not user based, just metered billing, like pay for the API usage that you have.
Yeah. No, I love that. Ronik, we are almost like an hour mark, and I really enjoyed this conversation. Everything that you shared today and we talked about, I think it's such a valuable, and especially a lot of companies and the founders, entrepreneurs, they are right now in the process of figuring it out, that how they should use AI. Like AI definitely is hot, and trending, and people are talking about it, but it's also very difficult for people to think like, okay, how I can actually use that in my agency setup. So everything that we talked about today, I think it's very valuable. And in fact, the second workshop that you and I talked about, that where we will go a little bit more in depth. So yeah, we will wait for if people enjoy today's podcast and they like actually what we have shared, we will actually connect again, and we'll do maybe a little bit more in-depth workshop where we will show some of the stuff that we talked about. Other than that, anyone who also is more interested to see what Ronik is doing, he has an amazing white label agency called UnlimitedWP, plus a bunch of other media and product companies, and we'll put the link for all of that in our show notes. But before we go, Ronak, anything else that comes to your mind that you wanted to share as part of today's topic?
No, I think I really enjoyed. Didn't realize that it was an hour, and I think there's a lot more that we can talk
Yeah,
about.
I
I'm
know.
looking forward to. I hope the audience want to hear more, and then I'm looking forward to next one. Probably do it after a few months. There is a lot more that we could talk for maybe a couple more hours, right? But
Yeah, that's why I was
I'm
thinking.
glad.
I think next one we will do maybe like a 2 hour or something, a little bit longer format.
Yeah, but thanks for inviting, and pleasure to be here.
Yeah, no, it was great, Ronik, and I learned a lot. Yeah, even though I've been playing with AI for a while, a lot of things that you shared, those are new, and yeah, I was taking a lot of notes on my side and try to see if there are some of those things we can implement in multi-dots as well. But yeah, it was great to have you on the show and talk about the AI, and looking forward to the next workshop.
Thank you, Anil.
Okay guys, so thank you for watching. Now if you are interested and would like to try this out for yourself, we offer a 30-day free trial of our Pro plan where you can test all the Multicollab features. So for this, all you have to do is click on the link in the description below, and this will bring you to this page, and under the Pro heading, simply click on this button here. Now simply enter a few details and that's it. You're ready to enjoy the Pro version of Multicollab for free for 30 days. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.